You have to understand what it was like. He blew out a lung for the smoke. The smoke lingered in the air. He folded his arms and bowed his head. When he lifted it, he stared into my eyes and said, Auschwitz. It was Ireland's answer to Auschwitz. I met Frankie on a building site, and his story is in the end of the book. It's not at the start, and his story was in a book called Did I Ever Tell You About Frankie? Now, to understand that, that was the third book in the series, which was a sequel to A Butterfly on Wellington, Quay, which is also number 2. It was a sequel to In God We Trust and We're Not Americans by George Fitzgerald, which the whole three of them became A Butterfly on Wellington, Quay. Those series of books is not to be mistaken with these series of books. That series, as I say, is a secular series in the sense of it's about this guy, which is me, brothers, family, friends, grown up, starting off. We lived in the Sky, Ballymun, the 1960s, 70s, until the 4 books later it comes into grown up in Finglas in the 70s, and it entails boyhood stories and all that. We got involved in the boxing and things like that, and that's what those books are about. And yet they're available only on audio at the moment until the complete series is finished, which is another 2 books away or so. Now, getting back to the one that we're talking about, which I'm going to divide up into 3 books. I'm just going to call them Book 1, Book 2 and Book 3. Book 1, the backstory to Book 1 is 1992, 28-year-old guy. They're in a lane in Finglas fighting, having a few drinks, waking up the next morning hungover, and then bumping into a guy in town, this guy, which his name is Dumbbell. Now these are I suppose, the more of an evangelistic sort of theme, where I'm beginning to experience faith, and I'm reaching out to people with the message of the gospel that I've heard. Not living it, but reaching out as best I can. And I meet this guy in town, Dumbbell, and the first period of that book, the first 2 chapters, is really about me having a discourse with this guy in a restaurant, and we're talking, and he's not listening, and it's the whole battle of trying to win him over, until finally I go out onto the streets and I meet me Boxcart. And it's here at Boxcart that I begin to start getting some sort of a victory, and I reach him. I'm on my way to work that morning, going towards the Clarence Hotel, meet my brother Joe later, and explain to him the morning I've had. And then I meet a guy, I talk about a story that's out in Ballymun, and a friend of mine, Max. The book ends there with him crying out. Book 2, we find me in the same place, in the same day, in the cellar, in the Clarence Hotel, with a black eye, and the conversation takes place with a friend of mine, Peter Trainer, and he ministers to me. And basically the book is really about getting ministered to in that particular place, in that particular need, and reaching and seeing the mercy of God come in and envelop me there. And I walk out and I see the butterfly on Wellington Quay. And I begin to describe the butterfly on Wellington Quay and where it goes and what its job is really, and how it sees humans. Book 3, we're moving into book 3. I'm on a building site. It's 2001, so we've gone from 1992 to 2001 now. I'm on a building site. I'm working. I'm a qualified plasterer. I always was qualified plasterer there, and I'm working with certain men. I'm preaching the gospel every single day. It's an interesting story of how one conversation ended up to a whole church service really on building sites preaching the gospel until I reached this guy, or I actually stretched my hand out towards this guy called Frankie. And yeah, Frankie was the inspiration to the books, The Promise Maker and Frankie's Little Miss Madser. He was the inspiration when I met Frankie, and he told me his story. And his story is one of a tenement life, of problematic life, of troubled life, of a boy in Letterfrack who refuses to hear the gospel or accept it based on the experience in that which he had in those places. The book will be out in March.
If I was